Hello and welcome to the Let It Ride podcast, coming at you to gear up for the NFL season. Going to be coming at you every week with an episode on Wednesday. This week, my friend Chris, aka the Hangry Asian, joins me to break down the AFC. Chris, we met through this podcast. You started following. We started talking pretty much every day on Twitter. This is actually our first face to face interaction. So props to the Let It Ride podcast. Even if this doesn't ever take off like I want it to, at least I've made some good friends along the way, and it's coming full circle with you coming on the pod now.
Yeah, that's right. I've known for a long time what you look and sound like because I watch every one of your pods. So this is, I hope that this lives up to the vision that you had of me. But here we are. We're building bridges. The people that I otherwise never would have known, and it's been great. It's been great interacting with you. It's been great, building this relationship.
Absolutely. I look forward to our conversations, enjoy our conversations, and I look forward to this one that we're about to have breaking down the AFC. And since you're a Pats fan, we are going to start with the AFC East. The Bills right now favored at -130, the Pats at +130. So the bookmakers pretty much saying it is a two-team race with the Bills at -130, the Pats at +130, the Jets +2,000, the Dolphins at +4,000. Now, got to go for the elephant in the room. Two big roadblocks, potential roadblocks for your team this year with the Mike Vrabel situation and the Super Bowl hangover. The Super Bowl loser always seem to have a hangover the next season. So either of those things are concerned for you going into next season.
Um, the Vrabel thing, no, I don't think so. The Super Bowl hangover thing, it could certainly could be. It seems like Vrabel knows and understands how to manage this team and how to get them through some of these kind of mental hurdles that we've seen other teams go through. That being said, as we get into this conversation, you'll see that I don't have my own team winning the division this year.
Okay.
One thing that I always pride myself on is that I bet with my head, and I don't bet with my heart, although sometimes I do bet with my heart, but only in small doses. Like when I want to have a meaningful conversation with people about sports betting, I'm gonna try to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm gonna try to make educated decisions and help people make educated decisions too. So it's entirely possible that the Patriots struggle this year. The schedule is not easy like it was last year. That was a huge talking point, was the Patriots schedule. I think they have like the ninth or the 10th most difficult schedule this year. And that's certainly not going to do them any favors. That being said, I still think it's a 9 or 10 or even 11 win team if things fall their way. But I think the Bills are going to be a better team. And when I did my research, they were -136. So it sounds like between then and now, things have swung a little bit in the other direction because you got like 6 points of juice between then. So to me, that feels like free money. Like I just 136 -136 or -130 for the Bills to win the division. They finally have like a receiving core that works. DJ Moore is a guy that Josh Allen never had before. So I think he's gonna well, not since Stephon Diggs, but so I think that's gonna present a different style to their offense that we haven't seen in some time.
Yeah, and a lot's being made of the Bills' losses on defense, but a number of the guys that they lost, Matt Milano and the like, Tre'Davious, like they didn't have those guys last year anyway. They were out to injury, and
Right.
they're like, oh, they're losing a lot of guys on defense, but pretty much that team is going to go how Josh Allen goes. Josh Allen is he walks in and gets 11 wins. It's what he does. But I think you may be selling your team a little bit short here. I think it's more of a toss up. So Bills at -130, Patriots at +130. I feel like this should be -110 for both teams. I feel like this is a coin flip. And so if you give me the plus money on the Patriots, I'm going to take it there. I'm not worried about the Super Bowl hangover. Like you said about Vrabel, I don't think any of those guys in the locker room care. If anything, this whole situation has got him a little bit of credibility with him, if anything.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to be a distraction. I don't think the Super Bowl hangover thing is going to matter. And I really like the addition of A.J. Brown. The first prop that I'm going to give out here, I have A.J. Brown over 6.5 receiving touchdowns. Last year he got the 6. He's gotten over this total in six of his 7 seasons. And the Patriots really need a red zone target. They get it here with A.J. Brown. He's finally in a more pass heavy offense. It's not going to be the tush push every time they get to the goal line, which you could tell frustrated him while he was in Philadelphia. But I'm taking all of his overs. I'm taking over 80.5 receptions, over 1,100.5 yards as well. You have 102 targets vacated with the departure of Stephon Diggs, and I think AJ Brown's going to jump right in and fill that role.
I think the tough part with some of those props on AJ Brown is that Drake May loves spreading the ball around. Like going back to high school, there are stories about him asking his teammates what everyone else's stats are, and so he can try to get everybody else the ball. And we've seen that here in New England, is that he is trying to get everybody involved. And so I think the over 6.5 is a great prop for his touchdowns. I think AJ Brown is almost certainly going to hit that. I think something that is going to benefit the Patriots from a betting perspective this year that they didn't have last year is that we are not going to be blowing out teams this year. If you remember last year, particularly in games against like really bad teams like the Giants, that game was over at halftime. Yeah. And Drake May sat out like a quarter and a half. And that happened like 3 or 4 times last season. And that hurts. That hurts numbers. I'm not going to dig up the MVP debate again, but like, when Drake May was sitting in the fourth quarter of games, Matt Stafford was still playing because they needed the scores. And sometimes they didn't, and he was still playing. But Drake May sat out a lot last season, and I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think they're going to be in a lot more dogfights than they were, and so he's going to have more opportunities to throw the ball around, and he should have more opportunities to score. So I really like over. I really like that overall on the AJ Brown. Touchdown line. On the other side, my first prop in the AFC East, I'm taking hold on, I have to remember exactly what it was when I checked it this morning. I am going to take under 11.5 rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen. That's going off at minus 125. And I think that the Bills know they need to keep Josh Allen upright as much as they can if they're going to win this division and make a long run in the playoffs. In having him pull off these 40-yard runs like he did against, I think it was Cincinnati last year, like that's just not going to be part of their game plan. I think that's one of the reasons they went out for DJ Moore, was to give him a more reliable receiving core. They also have a rookie that I really like. Skylar Bell, I think his name is. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And I think that's going to mean that he's going to throw the ball a lot more than he did last year. He's not going to run it as much. So I like minus 11.5 rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen this year.
Yeah, the only thing you have to worry about is that he is, in essence, their goal line back. So they get down, into the red zone, and he has those games where he has 2-3 touchdowns. But we're going to touch on this later when we talk about the AFC North. But I think a number of running quarterbacks you're going to see running less this year, so that's definitely something I could see happening there. I wanted to touch on something you said in your open about the Patriots' schedule, though, and just as it pertains to their schedule versus the Bills. So a lot of times you'll look at a schedule and say, oh, they play a first place schedule this year. So really, all that means is 3 different games from everybody else in your division, and in this 2-team race for this division, those 3 games are really important. So you see, first place schedule, that means the Patriots play a tougher schedule than the Bills. I don't think that they do. So the first place schedule for the Patriots means that their unique games are against the Steelers, Jags, and Seahawks, while the Bills play the Texans, the Ravens, and the Rams. I think the Bills have the tougher schedule out of those unique games, particularly going on the road in Week 1 against the Texans, a place where they have never been able to travel. That man-to-man press defense gives this Bills offense absolute fits, so they could be starting 0-1. And I think those 3 tougher games, I really think that, like I said, I think that turns this into a more of a coin flip. If you're taking the Bills over the Patriots, really the one advantage they have, it's Josh Allen. And I just don't think that. I think Josh Allen is a better player than Drake May, sure. I don't think he's better enough to overcome what I think is a better roster with the Patriots. So I think, given the quarterback advantage that they have, I think this should be a coin flip. So I think you may be selling your team a little bit short here. So I'm gonna go the other way. You said you're not going to take them to win the division. I am going to take them at the plus 130.
Well, it's funny, when I first started doing my research for this. So over the weekend, I actually counted 11 wins for the Patriots, and I counted 11 wins for the Bills. And so I thought to myself, this is going to be it's going to come down to tiebreaker. And then I thought to myself, man, am I really just homering too much on this team? And last year, all my friends accused me of homering because I took over 9.5 wins for the Patriots last year. And that turned out to be a massive smash. And so I thought it was, man, am I just homering too hard? So I look back, maybe like a couple of things don't go their way, and now we're looking at 9 wins and 10 wins. But yeah, it certainly could be a coin flip. And plus money on a coin flip never hurts either. The other thing you mentioned about the Bill schedule, I actually think that it's possible they start the season going 2-3. They have a really tough. Their first 5 games are very, very difficult. They have the Texans, the Lions, the Chargers, us, and then the Rams. That is a tough 5-game stretch. So it's entirely possible that they have that really tough start and they maybe start 2-3. But I still think that 11 wins is where they're going to land, and it's going to be a tight division for sure. Which is why the second prop that I really like for this division is any combination of 1 and 2 is plus 100 on DraftKings. So Pats 1, Bills 2, Bills 1, Pats 2, as that combination is plus 100. That to me feels like free money. I think the Jets are just awful. I think the Dolphins are awful. And I don't see. I mean, aside from either team just getting crushed with injuries, I don't see any of either the Jets or the Dolphins, finishing outside of the bottom 2 in this division.
Yeah. So you have, would that be an exact finish? Like you pick one to finish first, one to finish, because on DraftKings I have minus 340 Bills Pats. Just to be the top 2, so laying a lot of juice. But like you just touched on,
I think it is. Yeah, it is exact. You're right. It is exact.
Yeah. So I do have an exact order bet for this division, and you could take it either way. So Pats, Bills, Jets, Dolphins. You talked about the Jets and Dolphins both being bad. I think the Jets actually aren't. I don't think they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to challenge for the division, but I think they are almost a lock to finish 3rd in this division.
Mm-hmm.
They sold off a ton of their talent last year, but it brought them a bunch of draft picks. So they have 3 first-round picks coming in this year, and David Bailey, Kenyon Sadiq, Omar Cooper. Daryl Jackson in the 4th round, D'Angelo Pons in the 2nd round. So they add a ton of talent. They also have their own first-round pick, the better of the Cowboys and Packers, and the Colts first-round pick next year. So this is might be a team that's a year away from being a year away. Don't really trust Geno Smith, but I do trust them to be better than the Dolphins. So if you like the Bills to win this division, you can play Bills, Pats, Jets, Rams. That's plus 265. If you're going to go the way that I'm going to go, which is Pats, Bills, Jets, Dolphins, that's plus 330.
Yeah, that seems like a great both good lines to take. My concern with the Jets is that Geno Smith is their quarterback, and last year he just looked so awful. He looked slow. He looked old, and if he doesn't finish the season as their quarterback, who is their quarterback? Is it Brady Cook? Is he the guy who's going to take
Garrett
over
Nussmeier?
after Geno Smith?
They drafted Nussmeier, right, or somebody?
Right, yeah,
some of those random 4th, 5th round quarterbacks like that.
So the options after Geno Smith are really bad. Like they could be in full tank mode. If Geno Smith is as bad as he was last year. And that's not to say that the Dolphins aren't going to be in full tank mode, because I just think they're really bad. I was looking at their depth chart on their official website. Have you had a chance to look at that yet?
I couldn't name 2 receivers on their team.
Well, the funny thing is that they list Malik Washington as their number 1 receiver, which is fine. But then on the slot next to him where it says number 2, there's no name. And then there's another guy on their third name. And then if you look on the bottom where the guy who's supposed to be playing opposite Malik Washington, there's no name there. And then there's no name in the second column. And then there's a guy in the third column. So who's going to catch the ball? Is it really going to be Greg Dulcich? And I think I said this in our group chat. Is Greg Dulcich really going to be a 70-80 catch tight end this year? Is that the crystal ball?
Yeah, and it makes me feel really bad for Malik Willis, because the way he played last year, he deserved a shot somewhere, and this isn't even a real shot for him. He has almost no chance in Miami. It's kind of depressing from his standpoint.
Yeah, and to that end, and it's not even Malik Willis's fault that I made this bet. But if you go on DraftKings, you can bet Malik Willis to lead the league in interceptions at plus 1,600. And it's not even like a knock on him. I just don't know who's going to catch the football, And so like I looked at, I mean, Geno Smith was first at plus 400, and I liked that, except that I was like, is he going to finish the season? I don't know. And I think the Dolphins are going to ride Malik Willis the entire season, no matter what happens. And so that he could, through no fault of his own, but maybe because of his own fault, he could finish the season with more interceptions than any other quarterback.
Yeah. The one thing that you do have to worry about is his second read might just be to take off. So maybe you could kind of hedge that with his rushing total, which also could lead to him getting hurt, and then also hurt your interceptions bet, because in order to throw interceptions, you got to be on the field. But at plus 1600, might as well take a flyer. I did not have any more props for this division. Like I said, I think it's pretty much a 2-team race. Did you have anything else for the AFC East?
No, that's it. Without me being a homer, Drake May over 40 combined touchdowns. Yeah, I'm on that all day, but I'm not going to promote that on the pod.
Yeah, just play that and root for it, quietly on your own.
That's right. And then post a betting slip when it hits.
There you go. So that'll move us on to the AFC North. The Ravens are favored at plus 100. The Bengals right behind them at plus 170. The Steelers sitting at plus 500. The Browns sitting at plus 2,000. Now, I posted yesterday my thoughts on this division, and you echoed pretty much the same sentiment. So I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals schedule is really, really easy. Like it's the level of easy that the Patriots had last year, and that's not to say that the Ravens also don't have an easy schedule, because they do. I think Cincinnati's like 3 and Baltimore is 8 or 9 or something like that. And again, it's because like how the schedules work. But the schedule is really soft for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think that, again, we're looking at a situation where it's a 1 to 2 horse race between the Bengals and the Ravens. And just because of how easy the Ravens schedule is, I think that they're going to come out on top here. Healthy Joe Burrow is always going to be a top 5 or 6 quarterback, depending on who you ask on any given day. Jamar Chase is top 5 wide receiver as long as he's healthy. T. Higgins is probably the best number 2 in the league. I really like Chase Brown this year. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And then on the other side of it, like, the Ravens are good. They got Trey Hendrickson. That's great. But like, after Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, who are the people who are going to help, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry get there? And let's not forget, Derrick Henry is another year older. The question that I have is, how much longer can he continue to defy Father Time?
Yeah. Yeah, so we're both on the Bengals here, plus 170. I initially started this research expecting to absolutely love the Ravens. And the other thing about the schedule, so you noted the Bengals have the easier schedule. The Ravens also have an easier schedule, but it very likely could come down to the head-to-heads between these two teams. Mm-hmm. And the Bengals travel to Baltimore coming off of their bye. Meanwhile, the Ravens have to travel to Cincinnati on short rest on a Thursday night. So the schedule makers couldn't have made this any more unfair. The Ravens have to play the Bengals coming off a bye. So let's say you got home field advantage, but they're coming in well rested. Then you're going to go play them on 3 days rest. I'd be so irate over this if I was a Ravens fan. As it is, I'm just going to take note of it and say, hey, I think this adds value to the Bengals there at plus 170.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I think all the stars are lining up in favor for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. When I was looking at these lines over the weekend, it was actually plus 184 for the Bengals. I snatched that up. The Ravens were minus 122. So the lines have moved. Like, the people have been putting money on the Bengals and kind of shifting those lines in a different direction. But even 170, 160, 155, those are all good lines to grab for the Bengals. On the other side of it, I'm going to continue to rally against Aaron Rodgers.
Yes,
I think
it's on my list.
I think that, yeah, I don't think he has it anymore. In the same thing that I said about Geno Smith, I say about Aaron Rodgers, is that he looked indecisive, he looked slow, like it looked like he was going to his checkdowns too early.
He just got rid of the ball immediately, over and over and over again. Didn't want to get hit.
Right. And once upon a time, like, that wasn't the Aaron Rodgers that we saw. And we know that I'm an S-tier Aaron Rodgers hater, but like, when he was in Green Bay and he was in his MVP seasons, like, dude was just, he was a problem, and he's not that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, always fade aging quarterbacks. That is a mantra that I have lived with. Outside of your guy Tom Brady, nobody succeeds at the quarterback position after the age of 40. Aaron Rodgers is going to be 42 this year. That leads right into my first prop. It's all the Aaron Rodgers under. His
Mhm.
yardage total sitting at 3150. I'm taking the under there, taking under 21 and a half touchdowns. Just don't see it. They add Michael Pittman, which he's a fine number two
Sure.
receiver next to DK Metcalf, but the offensive line, I think they overperformed last year, and also
Mhm.
they looked a lot better than they were because Aaron Rodgers was getting rid of the ball so quickly. He loses the check down running back that he was throwing off to. Can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but just he's a 42-year-old quarterback that doesn't want to get hit. He's not going to stand in the pocket. He's not going to be able to deliver those downfield passes to Pittman, to DK Metcalf, under on all of Aaron Rodgers stuff. And that's if he plays all of his games. He could get hurt like he did his first season with the Jets, and you could just cash these right away.
Yeah, yeah. The line that I took, and this is my lottery ticket for the AFC North, is I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to win one game in their first five. Their first five schedule are the Falcons, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Colts. And I think the only game they win there is the Browns. And maybe they don't even win that one. Maybe they lose to the Browns and then they beat the Colts. But I think the Falcons are a better team. I think the Patriots are a better team. The Bengals are clearly a better team. So that means the Steelers and the Browns and the Colts to me are all just coin flips because I think they're all kind of stinky.
Yeah.
And so for plus 1,000, I get one coin flip to go my way. I'll take that. So I think you and I are kind of feeling the same way about the Steelers, and I'm also going to be hammering the unders on all the Aaron Rodgers props. I'm going to hammer the unders on the DK Metcalf props. I actually like Michael Pittman. I think a little bit more than most people do. I think that he's the type of receiver that's going to benefit from Aaron Rodgers' hesitation, in his desire to not hang in the pocket and chuck the ball downfield. So I'm a little bit more in on Pittman than I think most people are, but I'm not so in on him that I'm going to bet money on him or that I'm going to draft him in fantasy. Like that's just not. I'm going to say it here, and then I'm just going to watch it happen, and then collect my royalties later.
I think I might have Pittman in our dynasty league. I have to double check on that, but
Yeah, I certainly do not. Um, yeah, one of the lines that I really like is Chase Brown, over 824 and a half rushing yards.
I like that.
And if you look at it, I looked at this line and I thought to myself, are they really talking about a 17 game schedule here? Because that's like less than 50 yards a game.
Yeah.
And looking at how easy the Bengals schedule is, I really feel like we're going to be doing a lot of clock killing. And I think that there's going to be some opportunity for Chase Brown to rip off a good chunk of that prop in 4 or 5 games alone. And you look at it, he's like 4.4 yards per carry last year, 4.3 the year before that, 4.2 the year before that, but he wasn't starting. He was behind Joe Mixon that year. And so if he hits that 4.3 yards per carry, he only needs 11 carries a game to get there.
Yeah.
So in looking at that schedule, it's going to be a lot like the Patriots last year, where they're going to be winning games. They're not going to be throwing to Jamar Chase in the fourth quarter, because they're not going to have to make emergency comebacks the way they did, the way they did last year. They're going to be doing a lot more running. So I feel like even if Chase Brown isn't great, he's going to be looking at a lot of 16 carries, 65 yards, 70 yards, half a touchdown a game. I feel really great about that prop.
Yeah, I actually had that prop written down as well. Absolutely love that one. So that'll take us to the only team that we haven't talked about. I kind of wrote this one down just because I felt like we had to talk about the Browns in some capacity. I'm going Denzel Boston over 500 and a half
Yeah.
receiving yards. He's been the darling of Browns training camp. I don't think it matters who's throwing the ball, whether it's Shador Sanders, whether it's Deshaun Watson. Somebody has to get yards in that Browns offense. This Browns team should be playing from behind quite a bit. I mean, they lose. The only thing that made them special was Myles Garrett. Now he's out the door. And I like Jared Verse just fine, but I think this Browns team is going to be losing a lot. They're going to be airing it out a lot, and Denzel Boston is going to be the recipient of a lot of those yards, so over 500 and a half yards. This number is climbing, by the way. It was at 475 and a half when I took it, but I can't in good faith give out that number now because it's up to 500 and a half at the time that we're recording here.
Yeah, but even then, even if it jumps up to 524, 535, I would still take the over on that. It's going to be such a heavy volume passing attack even if the quality of the passes aren't great. And he is going to be the recipient of that. And I do think it's important to note that he is not the son of David Boston, as was reported during the draft. I think we just need to point that out right away. He's not David Boston's son. But no, I like that too, and that's probably the only prop that I like looking at on the Cleveland Browns. Their win total is like it's kind of on. To me that their win total is a really great line because like it could go under and it could just go over, by one game. So I'm not touching anything else on that team. I'm just gonna sit and watch the world burn for Cleveland. But to everyone's credit this year, this is not they're not the offseason darlings. I feel like every year we get a handful of offseason darlings. The Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, and then like one other team that everyone is in on, and then without fail, they almost are always awful. The Falcons, of course, were a bit better last year, but every year people love, Cleveland's going to be great this year, and they're not. And this year, no one's saying that. No one's coming out like, Cleveland's a sleeper in the AFC North. Like, I think people are finally sick of it. Like they're just passing on the Browns as they should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't have a quarterback, and that's got to be the first thing. I mean, they'll be one of the front runners in the Arch Manning sweepstakes in the offseason, going for the number one pick. I have a couple more props in this division. Lamar Jackson running the ball a lot less last year, so his over/under sitting at 525.5. He had a career low 349 yards last year. He did miss 4 games. But even if you extrapolate his average over a 17-game schedule, that only gets you to 457. So still well under this 525.5 prop that's set. He turns 30 this year. Only one quarterback ever has gone over 525 rushing yards in a season. That was Michael Vick. Michael Vick got a couple of years off. So for obvious reasons, but really wasn't, didn't have the miles on him that Lamar Jackson does at this point in his career. And I don't think this is necessarily saying anything bad about Lamar Jackson. I think he's just going to progress into being more of a pocket passer later in his career, much like Randall Cunningham did. We saw Randall Cunningham win Offensive Player of the Year, go 15-1 as a pocket passer in Minnesota with some dynamic weapons there. So not to say that Lamar Jackson is going to be a bad player this year. I think you're just going to see him be more of a pass first player. So really like the under 525 rushing yards for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as we talked about with Josh Allen, I think teams, they love that their quarterbacks can run. Like I love that Drake May can run. I panic every time he runs. And if that's me sitting on my couch, I can only imagine how the coaches feel, when Lamar Jackson takes off and when Josh Allen takes off. So I think that they don't want their quarterbacks to be putting themselves in danger like this as much as they have in the past. So I agree. I think we're going to see a shift towards getting the ball out a little bit more and trying to find those second and third reads that some of these mobile quarterbacks haven't typically done very well with in the past. So yeah, I'm in on that under for sure.
Okay, I have 2 more props. You have anything else for this division?
I don't.
Okay, so 2 more. This one's kind of obvious. And it's plus 100, so I feel like this is really good value here. Both of us think this is a 2-team race. Ravens, Bengals to finish top 2. So just to finish top 2 in any order is plus 100. I feel like that's just like, give us $100, we'll give you $200 in 6 months. So I felt like that was a free money one. This one, a little bit of a long shot. I talked about Cincinnati having the schedule advantage, getting to play Baltimore on short rest when they visit Cincinnati, and then getting the bye before they go to Baltimore. Cincinnati to have a perfect 6-0 division record right now is plus 1,800. Absolutely love that as a lottery ticket.
Ooh, that's nice. That's good. It should be 5 because they'll be Baltimore at home, and then they'll beat the other 2 teams. And so then they just got to win that coin flip, and when they go on the road. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Baltimore's gonna be on short rest. So that's a guy like that a lot. That's spicy.
Yeah. So I think I believe the game in Baltimore is first. So you're kind of gonna know going in. So it would be nice to have that hedge position going into Baltimore if it was the last game. But unfortunately, we're not going to have that. But I still like to play. It's a good lottery ticket, plus 1,800. Why not? So that's going to move us on to the AFC West. The Kansas City Chiefs favored at plus 160. The Chargers plus 190. Denver sitting at plus 225. The Las Vegas Raiders sitting at plus 2,000. And the Los Angeles Chargers, you said there was no offseason darling this year. They are my offseason darling.
Yeah.
Absolutely love everything that the Chargers did. They finally get a real offensive coordinator in Mike McDaniel. Might not like Mike McDaniel as a head coach. He kind of fell off a cliff there in Miami. A lot of that had to do with who his quarterback was in Tua Tagovailoa, but he has never had a weapon like Justin Herbert. They add to the offensive line, which is already really good. They add Cole
Mhm.
Strange from your team. They add Tyler Biotic, to Joe Alt, to Rashawn Slater. So the two great bookends. And last year, this Chargers team was absolutely decimated on the offensive line, and Justin Herbert stood on his head and still had a great season. They add David Njoku to a trio of pass catchers in McConkey, Johnston, and Gadsden that I really like. And they still have depth on the offensive line. I think they kind of learned their lesson from last year with all the offensive line injuries. They still have Trevor Penning. They still have Pipkins. They still have a couple of really good backup offensive linemen. So I think this team is well equipped to deal with an offensive line injury or two if it does happen again. Absolutely love the Chargers to win this division, and might as well get my prop in here now. Absolutely love Justin Herbert to win MVP at plus 1,000.
Ooh. Plus 1,000.
Plus 1,000.
Okay, that's pretty good. No, so yeah, I agree with all the things that you said, and I also know, and I'm going to hedge this by saying I've also picked the Chargers to win this division, but it seems like every time the Chargers have come in as that offseason darling, and it's happened like two or three times, they found a
Sure.
way to mess it up. And it's not always their fault. Like they've run into Patrick Mahomes' career in their division, and that's just tough luck,
Yeah.
and so maybe the stars are going to line up for them this year. So I think like that combination plus the fact that and I looked at the lines for who's going to win this division. It blows me away that the Chiefs have the shortest odds because I think they're the third best team in this division again. I don't think they make the playoffs. They've gotten
Wow.
older. They've gotten slower. We don't. I don't know if you know more than I do. I don't know when Patrick Mahomes is coming back.
He's
So
supposedly going to be ready week 1, but he completely
okay,
blew out his knee in December.
yeah, I mean, and then he had like a surgery like 2 weeks later, and I thought to myself, that's way too early for a surgery like that. Like I've known athletes, obviously not of that level, but had similar injuries, and they had to wait and get consults and had swelling go down. We don't have the therapy that they do, so it is what it is. Okay, but like again, like they trade Trent McDuffie and they got Loki
Mansoor
from
Delaney.
what's that?
Yeah. Mansoor Delaney from LSU.
Yeah, and they got that safety from Baltimore. So are they better on defense? I don't think so. And what are we gonna get out of Patrick Mahomes? It's unclear. And so I'm in on the Chargers number one. I'm in on the Broncos number two. And I really think the Chiefs are the third best team in this division.
Yeah. And to add to the Chargers point, you talked about Patrick Mahomes coming off the injury. Bo Nix also coming off a broken leg in the playoffs. So
Yes.
the two starting quarterbacks that you're worried about in that division, both coming off of an injury. I think the Raiders will be better, but I'm not really worried about them being poised to take the division. So, like I said, really love the Chargers here at plus 190.
Yeah.
My first prop I gave out already, Herbert, but you can also get all of his overs. So if you just wanted to play, you got the lottery ticket on the plus 1,000 for MVP, but I would also take the over 36.50 passing yards and over 25.5 passing touchdowns as well.
Yeah, I have two props for the Chargers that I really like, and one is offensive and one is defensive. And I really like Omari and Hampton over 949.5 rushing yards at minus 110. And I think their offensive line is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think they're
Yep.
going to be relying on hopefully a healthy Omari and Hampton to really be the juice behind that offense that's going to take some pressure off of Herbert, allow him to throw the ball when he needs to. And if you look at the Chargers schedule, they're playing the stinky Dolphins, the Jets, the Bucks, who I think are not very good. They get the Raiders twice, and they get the Chiefs defense twice, which I also don't think is very good. And so that's 8 games where like he could almost hit that 950 in those 8 games plus another couple.
Yeah.
He only needs to get 56 yards per game to get there. So if he breaks off like 2 or 325-yard games, I think that's going to be an easy prop to hit. So I'm in on that as well. I'm in on most of the Chargers offensive props, like for sure. On the defensive side, I really like the sack total for I'm gonna mess up his last name. Tuli Tuipulotu has a sack prop at over 10 and a quarter sacks at -110. On the other side of it, Khalil Mack is over 6.5. I actually like both of them
Okay.
because I think that this defense is going to get after it. They're going to have all the opportunities in the world to get after it, especially against those 8 games that we talked about, where they should be playing with a lead and they should be playing with significant leads against some of those where they're just going to pin their ears back and rush. And Tuipulotu, he has had 3 consecutive seasons of 10 plus sacks. Like he's there. He's the guy now. And so I really am I'm in on his defensive props and Khalil Mack too. I think they're both coming.
Yeah, I'll touch on the Amari and Hampton one real quick, just because I'm kind of kicking myself for not having it myself. I talked about how great this offensive line is, and it's, and uh,
Mhm.
Harbaugh wanting to be a run first kind of guy too. So I'm kind of kicking myself for not having that one myself. That's a great one. As soon as we log off of this podcast, I'm going to be betting that one. Running behind what should be the best offensive line in the league. Absolutely love
Mhm.
that. The
Mhm.
defensive ones, haven't done the research on that, but like you said, they should be playing with the lead a lot. The guys should be able to pin their ears back and just get after the quarterback. Khalil Mack over 6.5. I'll definitely play that. If I kind of feel like I should know how to pronounce a guy's name before I take before I take the other one, but I'll do some research on that one as well.
I googled it and I looked it up and I said it many times, and then now we're recording and I messed it up. So if he's watching, I apologize. Um, you know,
So something that you touched on about the Chiefs. Now, if the Chiefs do finish third place in this division, now do you expect them to completely fall off a cliff? Do you think they're going to win like 6 games, or do you still think they're going to be around like the 9-10 win range?
I think they're going to be competitive. I think this is a sneaky good division.
Yeah.
Like between those 3 teams, and to be honest about the Raiders, I like the Raiders too. I don't like the Raiders in this division. I love Ashton Genty. I'm going to take a ton of Genty props because I think he's in such a great situation this year. So I'm going to be all over him for sure. And so I'm not saying I dislike the Raiders. I just don't like them as much as I like the other 3 teams. I think it's going to be a competitive division. I really just see the Broncos and the Chargers as being the 2 better teams when everyone's fully healthy out of
Yeah.
the 3.
So I think you're gonna like my last prop here. Then I have the AFC West to have the most wins out of all the NFL divisions.
Mm,
That's plus 500. Like you said, there's no bad team in this division. You have 3 teams are going to be fighting for playoff spots. I think the Raiders are greatly improved. I took their over on our season win totals draft last week. All these teams get to play the Jets, they get to play the Dolphins, they get to play the Cardinals. You don't have that team that's going to win 4 games. I think all these teams are going to win at least 6 games, and I think
yeah,
3 of these teams are going to win at least 9 games. The NFC North is rightfully favored in this prop. I think they're sitting at like plus 125, but I think the AFC West is just as good, and they have a shot at taking this. And at plus 500, I'm just going to take the value there.
yeah. I know we're not talking about the NFC. I'm not as in on the NFC North as everybody else is. I think that the Detroit Lions have an absolutely explosive offense and a defense that's going to leave a lot to be desired. They're going to find themselves in a lot of shootouts, and when you put yourself in a shootout situation, things can go awry.
Yeah.
Those track meets can really go either way. The Vikings just named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback, and there's a new Call of Duty coming out in October. Like I just, I don't
It's
know that I'm in.
that is the second Kyler Murray Call of Duty reference in as many episodes on this show this
Yeah,
year.
it's gonna be a recurring theme. I mean, they wrote it into his contract when he was in
Yeah.
Arizona. So like it's never he's never gonna beat the allegations. So I think the NFC North is good. I don't think they're as good as other people do. I do think the AFC West is the best division in football.
Okay.
And I agree. I think that they're going to win that prop for you. So congratulations on that free money. I'm probably going to run over to DraftKings and do the same thing.
All right, that was my last prop for the AFC West. You have anything else here?
No, that's it. I just had those two Charger props.
Okay. All right. That's going to move us on to the AFC South. The Houston Texans plus 110. The Jacksonville Jaguars plus 245. The Indianapolis Colts plus 380. The Tennessee Titans sitting at plus 800. When I started the research on this division, you may notice I haven't taken an overwhelming favorite in any division. I've taken the second team in pretty much every division. I go into these things not wanting to just take the favorite, just take the favorite.
Yeah.
I could not get away from Houston on this one. Houston is the best team in this division.
Yep.
The number indicates it. They catch the Colts and Jags both at home on short rest. The Jags on after they play a Monday Night Football game. They catch the Colts on Thursday Night Football. They have 7 tough games against Buffalo, Cincy, Dallas, Baltimore, the Chargers, the Eagles, and Green Bay. They play 4 of those games at home. So they play Buffalo, Cincy, Dallas, and Baltimore at home. Buffalo absolutely cannot play in Houston. They proved it last year. I think Josh Allen, I don't think he's ever won in Houston. So they have 3 tough road games. They have a division that I think they're the best team in, and they have those 4 games at home that against tough teams, but I think they should be able to take care of business with their great defense. I like the Texans to win this division.
Yeah, I'm also went on the Texans. I went not with the same mentality because you do this a lot. Like you want to go in and prove your original thought wrong, and I really appreciate that about the research that you do. I'm not necessarily that way. Like I went into this thinking like I'm going to be picking the Texans, and I looked at all the numbers and I looked at the stats and I looked at the rosters and I thought to me, and it's to me it's not. I think the fact that we're getting plus odds on the Texans is insane, because like that defense is absolutely elite. Watching them in the playoffs, and yeah, they lost that game, but watching that defense in the playoffs, they are fantastic, and they're going to be fantastic again this year. And I think that CJ Stroud is taking a lot of unnecessary flack.
Sure.
Obviously he was awful in that playoff game, but he's a very good quarterback, and I still think he is a top 12 to 15 quarterback in the NFL. He has a receiving core that's fully healthy. So I'm really interested. I love Nico Collins this year. I think plus 110 for the Texans is it's insane. To me, that just smells like free money. So I'm pumping everything on that. My prop for that, one of my props for that division is over 22.5 passing touchdowns for CJ Stroud. And as long as his receivers stay healthy, I think he's just going to chuck it. He can run. I don't see him as I see him as preferring to pass. And so I think he's going to take the opportunity to do that. I don't love the Woody Marks David Montgomery combination. I think as much as other people do, watching Woody Marks last year, like he was fine. I didn't get the hype. So when I look at that team and I look at that roster construction, I feel like he's going to be throwing a lot of the touchdowns. And some of those might go to David Montgomery, who's going to be coming in on third down to do his thing. But I think 22.5 is a good number for him. I think he's probably going to fall in like 24, 25.
Yeah, and he should get some more time to throw too. They draft Keelan Rutledge. He's going to play center for them. They had Braden Smith in free agency, so shoring up the one real weakness this team had is that they couldn't block anybody. So if CJ Stroud has more time to throw, that's definitely going to help your prop along as well. My first prop in this division, I guess we'll stick with the Texans, and then we'll move on to the other teams. So this pretty much wraps up the Texans for me. Will Anderson to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 700. Like you said, this defense is insanely good. You really can't afford to double team anybody on this defensive line. I think Will Anderson is going to feast. He's going to be the best player on the best defense in the league, and I think that's going to give him a leg up to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, as somebody, I did not play organized football. The extent of my football knowledge comes from watching it and playing Madden. But like when you watch Will Anderson Jr., he does everything. He can rush with power. He can rush with speed. He can take on double team. He's an absolute monster. And a lot of people are going to be in on Myles Garrett, and I am not. I'm not there. I think he's in a good situation to do his thing. I wonder if there's a little bit of voter fatigue going on with him there. But I think Will Anderson is just going to have an absolutely impactful season. And I think he's going to be the reason they win like 3 or 4 games on his own. I think he's going to have a special season.
Yeah, and if you go back to Miles Garrett too, it's kind of like when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors. It's like, oh, they're building this super team over there. You never really want to give like those guys don't win awards. They just don't.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
All right, so do you
Um,
have another prop for this division?
I do. I do. One of the things that I did very well on in the World Cup was betting those two teams to get out of their groups, and I like that in this division. If you bet the Texans to win, and then you bet the Jacksonville Jaguars to finish second, you get plus 340.
Yep.
That feels really good. If you have a little bit of trepidation, you can get any combination of that to plus 170. I think both of those are fine. I don't look at I don't see the Colts being very good this year. I think the Colts defense is really bad. I think they're going to take us. I mean, I don't I think they're going to take a step backwards. I don't like the Titans either. I think that they're still a work in progress. They have a lot of really interesting signings in a roster that, like, if I was playing Madden, are guys that I would really want on my team, but I don't know that translates to wins. So, like, for me, I look at those two teams, the Jaguars and the Texans, and I think that's like a pretty solid lock to finish 1-2 there.
Yeah, I have Houston, Jacksonville, top two plus 170 was my top. So great minds thinking alike here. The Jaguars finished 13-4. Finished 13-4 last year. They virtually bring back the same team. Maybe you get a healthy Travis Hunter. So I don't. I think they're going to definitely fall off of that 13-4 number from last year. But love the exact finish. Kind of gives you some leeway if the Texans have the rough start like they had last year, have to storm back to make the playoffs. The top two bet at plus 170. I really really like. We haven't talked about the Titans and the Colts very much. I'm a little bit higher on the Colts than you are, but I do think that they are both going to be in the cellar of this division. I guess I'll start with the Colts just because it leads back to one of the divisions that we already talked about with the prop that I want to play here. So this Indy team started out like a house on fire last year. Daniel Jones looking like he was running away with comeback player of the year. Then they add Sauce Gardner at the end of the year. Unrelated, that was when their season completely went off the rails. But easy to forget, they do have a potential shutdown corner still
Yeah.
on this team. So he should give an influx of talent to this defense. And I think you still have Jonathan Taylor, you still have Tyler Warren, you still have some talent on this Colts team, and their schedule is fairly easy. So they start at home against Baltimore. They're at Kansas City, so they catch Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes still trying to find his sea legs. They're at Washington, at Pittsburgh. They play the Titans twice. They catch Miami at home. They catch the Giants at home. They catch they have to go to Cleveland, but I don't think Cleveland's going to be very good. So I have them winning 8 or 9 games, but I'm not going to take their season win total here. You can get them to win more games than the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that we're both down on. So I have the Colts to win more games than the Steelers. That pays out at plus 140.
Ooh, you're gonna have to tell me where to find that bet because I didn't see that, and I'm so down on the Steelers. Like I'm in on that one too. If I have a chance to bet against Aaron Rodgers this season, I'm taking it.
Yeah, and this is exact, and it kind of bit me last year, just because out of nowhere they started with like the Tomlin voodoo kicked in, and that was something we didn't even touch on when we talked about being down on this team. The Tomlin voodoo was gone. You bring in Mike McCarthy, so you bring in a much worse version of pretty much the same guy. Like he doesn't have a specialty. I'm down on Mike McCarthy, down on Aaron Rodgers. So even if you're down on the Colts, you got to love this prop here. So the only team that we didn't really touch on. The Tennessee Titans, I'm going to go with Cam Ward over 3,299 and a half passing yards. This team's going to be playing from behind a bunch. They don't really have a running game. Tony Pollard, another year older, I believe he's on the wrong side of 30. You have Gunnar Helm in his second year. He sneakily had a great rookie season. You have Carnell Tate, Wan'Dale Robinson. They get in a trade with the Giants. They bring in Calvin Ridley. So he's got some guys to throw the football to, and I think he's going to be throwing it a lot. So Cam Ward over 3,299 and a half passing yards, just to get the Titans on the board here.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet because a lot of those yards are going to be garbage time yards, and they're not going to bench him if they're getting blown out in the fourth. Like they're just not gonna. Like he's in his second year. They're going to let him learn and grow. So he's going to be in there to throw the football, and that's less than 200 yards per game. Like in this modern offense, for the amount of times that he's going to be throwing the football, like that should be a mortal lock. Like
Yeah,
I would be surprised if he doesn't hit that prop.
yeah,
And if
and like I
he
said,
doesn't, then
this.
just delete the video.
Yeah, exactly. It never
Um,
happened. You just clip
yeah,
out the ones where I gave out winners. It's easy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll just do some extra editing. Yeah, it's fine. Um, yeah, so I found an interesting prop on DK the other day. That was and it involves Jonathan Taylor because I do think that he still has the potential to be a special player. Um, and the prop was Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson to combine for over 35 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
And it was plus 190. And I thought to myself, like, okay, yeah, I could see that happening. That's 12 rushing touchdowns between the three of them. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's not going to have 25 rushing touchdowns, but like, could he get 15? Could any of them get? All of them could get 15.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to be betting anytime touchdown props on Gibbs and Bijan every week, and often I'll be betting 2+ every single week. I mean, especially Jahmyr Gibbs. That offense is crazy. They're going to be
And with
scoring a
Montgomery
ton of
gone
points.
too, with
Yeah.
Montgomery not vulturing him anymore.
Yeah, and so I'm in on that prop, which involves our guy from the Colts. My concern with the Colts is Daniel Jones gonna continue what he did last year before he got hurt, or is he gonna turn back into the pumpkin?
Yeah.
Who is he? We're gonna find out. As long as he stays healthy, I don't trust him. And I didn't trust him when he was in the Giants. And even like I bet against him every single week last year to my detriment because he proved me wrong every single week. I'm still gonna do it because I don't see it, and I know again I'm not an expert. I didn't play the game. I don't see what other people see. And to me, I'm not sold on Daniel Jones. I may never be sold on Daniel. He could be the MVP of the league this year, and I'm still gonna bet against him every week next year.
Yeah, you'd really get along with Jordan, who was on last week. He absolutely feels the same way about Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones had that one flash in the pan season with the Giants, too. So it's not like, oh, he
Mhm.
got on a new team and all of a sudden he looked better. Like he had that one really good year with the
Yeah.
Giants before, like you said, he turned back into a pumpkin. I'm playing it down the middle. I think, he's going to be good enough, not to the point where they're starting out the season 8-1 again, but I think
Right.
he's going to be good enough to be just be better than Aaron Rodgers. That's all he has to do for me here.
Yeah, no, and I think that's going to happen. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a tough year.
Yeah. So that does it for our props and for the divisions. But I didn't prep you on this, by the way. But general rule of thumb, kind of like a 12 seed always beats a 5. One of those general rule of thumbs with sports is that there's always 5 new playoff teams. Uh, Pretty much
Oof.
every NFL season. So that means that 2 to 3 teams from the AFC that didn't make the playoffs last year are going to make it this year. Now I kind of feel like it's a bit of cheating, so I'm going to take 3 teams off the board immediately. So Kansas City's minus 275 to make the playoffs, and you already said you think they're going to miss it. The Ravens are minus 390, and the Bengals are minus 200. So I'm not going to make you pick 2 of them. So just one between the Colts at plus 170, the Titans at plus 340, the Browns at plus 570, the Raiders at plus 600, the Jets at plus 690, the Dolphins at plus 1400. If you had to place a bet on one of those teams to make the playoffs,
Ugh.
I can read them again. I
That's
didn't prep
yeah.
you on this. This is I just sprung this on you.
Man, that's tough because I mean,
I have an answer, by the way.
the path. The tough part is that the pathway into the playoffs for any of those teams is going to have to be as one of the third place teams. So we know it's not the Raiders. The Raiders are going to have to take 7 steps forward in order for it to be them. And even if the price is right for it, I think that just betting the Raiders there is just lighting money on fire. I think betting on the Dolphins is just lighting money on fire. I think betting the Jets is lighting money on fire. Man, I that's tough. I think like gun to my head, and you were like pick one of these crap bag teams to make the playoffs. I guess I would take the Colts. I
Okay,
don't feel
I'm
good
actually
about it.
so at plus 170. So the Colts are more likely, sure, at plus 170. I kind of like the Raiders at plus 600. I really like this Raiders team. I think they're making all the right moves. You talked about being down on KC. You're high on Denver. I'm not sure that Bo Nix is going to be back right. I really like this Raiders team. I think they're going to surprise some people. I said it on last week's pod. I think they're going to be a lot of teams look ahead spot. I could see them sneaking in at 9-8. I don't know. I mean, like if I had to take one of these teams, because I wanted to do this exercise, and
Wow.
then I got down the list, and I was like, oh man, like there's like the Ravens, Chiefs, and Bengals missed the playoffs last year. That's almost too easy. So I was like, all right, we have to pick
Right.
somebody from off the board for this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You started asking the question. I was like, oh, it's the Bengals. Like they're in. Like they're
Yeah,
definitely in. Yeah. No, yeah. Again, the pathway for any of these teams to get in is so difficult because they're not good teams, and so they need everything to go in their way. And every like in the Raiders case, they need everything to go in their way, and then they need everything to go against the Chiefs and the Broncos. So like
yeah.
because I mean maybe the Raiders get in with 9 wins as a third place team in the division, maybe, but I
I
feel
think
like they're
it's
gonna have
technically, I think it's technically possible for all four teams in the division to make the playoffs. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I think it's technically possible because there's three wild card spots now.
that's yeah, I guess I guess we'd have to run like the math and see how that would actually work to do it. I mean, if it's possible, this could be the only time. Is there a prop where you can bet an entire division to make the playoffs? Because maybe this is the time. Maybe it's
What?
plus 3,000 that all four teams make the playoffs, and you throw $5 on it, and you walk out with a steak dinner. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I'm already in on that plus 500 bet for them to have the most wins, so I kind of feel like it's baked in.
yeah.
With not having to have like something of historical significance that's never happened before happen. So I think I'm just going to stick with that. But it just stuck out to me. Raiders at plus 600. Like I said, if I had to pick somebody off that board, it would be them.
Yeah, I mean, plus 600 feels pretty good. I mean, of the teams that we think are going to finish last in their divisions, like the Raiders are the best of the four AFC East teams that we think are going to finish last. And I think it's not, as much as I hate this phrase, I don't think it's particularly close because the
Yeah.
other teams that are going to finish fourth are going to be dreadful. Like if the Dolphins get 3 wins this year, I think that would be two more than I think they're going to get.
Yes.
So
This exercise also made me realize how unfair these bets are because there's 7 playoff spots and 8 teams are listed at minus money.
oh, that's interesting too. Yeah.
There
That's
has to be like there. It almost seems like there should be a way to bet the other way, to bet the no, and to guarantee yourself a profit. But I do not possess the math skills to figure out how to do that.
I don't know if I possess the math skills to figure that out, but you know what? That's what the books do. They make the line so that they find a way to edge out all the profit they can get. So that's what they'll do. You know.
Yeah. Well, Chris, that does it for everything I had. Do you have anything else?
No, no, thanks. Thank you for inviting me. I've had a blast. I've had a blast talking football, talking betting with you. This has been a great time. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. The Hangry Asian on Twitter. If you want to find him. Anything else to plug on the way out?
I'm gonna plug your pod. It's amazing. It's one of the best betting pods that I listen to. And I listen to a dozen. I don't talk about them a lot. But I listen to about a dozen of them. I think yours is one of the best ones. Because like your information is succinct, it's honest. There's this clearly there's no ulterior motive to it, and that's something that I think everybody needs a little bit more of. The one thing that I would add about myself is that I am going to be posting a little bit more soccer content as we get into the European seasons. I generally don't post a lot of the NFL stuff that I do because I feel like that's a tough space, for me to get into, and I'm happy to like piggyback on what you do and promote your hard work because I think you do a lot more work than I do. To be honest, to be perfect, I think I do a ton of work for soccer. I don't do the level of work that you do for the NFL, and I'm happy to admit that. I'm not too proud. But like if for those of you that are watching for the first time, like do yourself a favor, like bookmark it on YouTube, follow him on YouTube, like catch them when they go live. Also, are you still doing Spotify? Because I still follow you on Spotify too.
Yeah, so the end of last season, I stopped doing the audio only version. This last week's episode, it ended up taking like a day and a half for whatever reason to post on YouTube. So I ended up, while that was working itself out, I ended up posting the audio version, only audio only version, and like yeah, I ended up getting a bunch of views, and I was like, oh, people are still following it on Spotify, so I will continue to do that this year.
Excellent. I'm excited. Let's get it done.
All right, well, Hangry, it was really great to finally talk to you face to face. Like I said, we've
Yeah,
been talking for
absolutely.
probably about 2 years through Twitter DMs, and that's
Yep.
great to
Yep.
put a face to the voice I've been, been reading in my head for so long, and really great to finally get to chop it up with you, man.
Yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
All right, cheers, man.
All right, have a good one.